We've talked about a lot of game shows on this channel and lots of different types of game shows on this channel, but there is one type of game show that we've pretty much ignored, and that is the sports game show. And the reason is there's not much material out there, because a lot of them are either really good, like a sports challenge, 2-minute drill, or they're buried treasures like Sports on Tap, and one of my personal favorites, Stump the Schwab. Now, there's a lot of middling shows out there, like Grandstand, but there are some shows out there that are worthy of this, dishonor, so to speak. One of those shows tries to combine a quiz show with a physical show, or stunt show, take your pick, physical, stunt show, sports show, and does neither of them to the best of their abilities. And it kind of makes me infuriated because of this, because there's a lot of good ideas in this show, just not properly executed. I give you the Dream League.
From Universal Studios Hollywood, where dreams of every kind come true, it's the Dream League, America's ultimate test of sports brain and brawn.
Before I start, do not confuse this show with the reality show Dream Job that ESPN did in the mid-2000s. That show was pretty cool and really good for the 3 seasons that it ran. This show was more of a nightmare than anything else. Dream League was a strange hybrid of a quiz game mixed with a physical challenge show, like I said earlier. Olympic swimmer John Neighbor would host this show, along with a sideline reporter Gretchen Jansen, and as referee, the charismatic Dwight Stones. This would be the setup for most of the shows until in the last season Neighbor would leave, Dwight Stones would host, and a new referee would take his place. In this show, 2 teams of 3 consisting of a championship athlete and 2 average Joes compete in a part quiz bowl, part fantasy sports camp weekend game. I'll try to clear up that confusion in a bit. Now, before I talk about the hosts or the format or anything like that, this has to be one of the cheapest game shows that I've seen a major outfit put out in quite a long time. Let's start with the quiz portion of the game. The contestants are set up like a cheaply done high school quiz show. You could tell because the podium was made up of white PVC pipe with the egg crate display slapped in front, and tabletops housing one buzzer that everybody has to share. Actually, scratch what I said earlier. The high school quiz show to have at least set it up so all 3 contestants will have their own buzzer. I'll get back to more on that later. Then you have the football field markers on the side of Neighbor. I get why they would be needed, but it just looks cheap because it looks like they sliced a small Nerf football and stuck it on the board. And it wasn't even magnetized, and so they just put it up and just put it back down with no care. Now we get to where they blew the budget of the show, and that's the Dream League playing field. There's golf, football, baseball, and basketball. Golf kind of looks halfway decent, but they couldn't get the green to be flat around the markers or where the pin is. Then you have football, where they have 3 tackling stands where the receivers are. Not a fan of the shirts. They're supposed to be mock-ups of jerseys, though, but I give it a pass. Baseball is essentially getting a T-ball set, but with no T-ball stand, so essentially it's slow pitch. What I will make hay about for this is the home run designation is set up way too high. The trajectory would make it where it would be more like a pop-out than a home run. Then, honestly, the budget ran out with basketball. They just got a $200 or so portable hoop from Big 5 and marked designations for the scoring lines. It looked more like an afterthought than anything else. Now, you would think with something with this type of idea, they would go something bigger and better. Actually make it feel like you're winning something or you're doing something impressive. But unfortunately, they cheaped out a lot, and I guess the draw of Universal Studios Hollywood for those unlimited Back to the Future and Earthquake rides at the time were too much of a draw. Especially for the 3 figureheads of the show, i.e. host, sideline reporter, and the charismatic Dwight Stones.
Here's the commissioner of the Dream League, Olympic champion, John Neighbor!
Thank you very much, Steve K-Man Kramer. Thank you all, and welcome once again to the Dream League. This is the place where armchair quarterbacks and weekend warriors come together to strut their stuff.
Hosting the show is John Neighbor, Olympic gold medalist in swimming and a world champion in swimming. In between the Olympics and this, he was a spokesperson for Speedo and a sports broadcaster. You name it, he's covered it and done it well. Here, though, he suffers from what I like to call Cunningham-itis. Here, he may be the main host for the quiz segment and announced as the commissioner of the Dream League, but he feels like an afterthought for the other half of the show on the playing field. That wears on a host and make him suffer for it. Cunningham's work on Scramble suffered because referee Cat Ashley would do all of the work in explaining the rules and hosting the extra point segments while he read the questions and little else. Neighbor suffers from that same fate. Filling the role of Cat Ashley here is Gretchen Jansen, former Miss Texas and Miss USA. She had been doing various jobs for ESPN at the time, and she was alright in her role, but would come off as pretty wooden at times. Same as how Cat Ashley was in Scramble. I'd like to think that if both of them hosted together at the same time, kind of like you'd have two commentators on whatever sports program would be on ESPN at the time, it would have made both hosts better. Then we get the charismatic Dwight Stones as a referee. Now, he's supposed to be a villain, but if he is, he's severely miscast. Dwight is a very personable guy, given the interviews he would give. That's why I call him the charismatic Dwight Stones. Here they turn him to a ref that has almost minimal to do that could have been done by a nameless staffer or announcer Steve Kamer, as blowing a whistle or playing some other sound to determine a break or halftime. And this is a different feel that I have for this induction rather than others in the past, because I liked the ideas of Dream League, I really do, but it just infuriates me that with the format, it really dropped the ball harder than the first run of the XFL. There are two halves to this game, the quiz portion and the bonus sports activity portion. In the quiz portion, both teams are asked a series of toss-up questions. The first team to guess the correct answer moves their team up 10 yards. But if they answer the question within 3 seconds or some other artificial time of neighbor asking it, they get 20 yards. I guess you need more football in this game when it's already represented in the playing field. Once a team reaches the end zone, i.e. gets 100 yards, they score 100 points and we get to add more points by one of the 4 sports bonuses they play. To me, it seems a bit of a complicated way to get 100 points. Why couldn't they just say each correct answer is worth 10 points in the first half, 20 points in the second half, and do the yards gimmick at the same time? To me, it would add more to the game since you wouldn't get as many blowouts as the game would have off and on, and at least give both teams something to shoot for. What also hampers teams who are suffering from a blowout is that after the first half, all teams are reset back to start. That means if a team that's trailing is ready to break the play into the goal and score, this essentially boots them back to start, and they're in an even bigger hole and will more likely be a victim of a curb stomp than anything else, thus making the game completely unbalanced. There's another gimmick that they had which was clever, and that's the stupid answer penalty. In this show, if a contestant gives an outrageously bad answer, the ref would throw the yellow penalty hanky and penalize the contestant 10 yards. Now, I want to preface that this was clever in theory, but it wasn't implemented for everyone since this wasn't used for the celebrity partners.
Though he is now famous for wearing number 32, what jersey number did O.J. Simpson wear? Ooh.
32.
That, no, I think we might get a flag on that. No, I said, though he used to wear
number 32.
Right, and it's not, you're wrong, sit down, it's okay.
If they would have extended it to the celebrities, I would be delighted to see this rule. But because it is selective in its execution, it makes it unneeded. Being chided by neighbor or the charismatic Dwight Stone should be enough. While I'm at how badly flawed this section is, let's talk about how bad the buzzer system is again. In every single 3v3 quiz show that had a budget of more than $10, they don't share a buzzer. They had their own plunger or clicker to buzz in with. This makes it fair because even though you might not be fast with the buzzer, someone else on your team would be and could help out the team. On this show, it's more apt because while you might not be fast at the buzzer, you could do really well in the bonus parts, helping your team out that way. Having all three crowd around the one buzzer makes the show look even low budget than it is. Heck, ESPN had a 3v3 quizzer before this in Super Bowl of Sports Trivia. Every teammate had their own buzzer. Why couldn't they configure this in the same way? Okay, I'm going to draw you a little diagram about how this should have worked. Actually, I'm going to do it like this. Or like this, you know. Okay. You have your... We have the host here. You have your board here. And then you have your podium style like match game set up like this with here, 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 here. You know, this is like your 3-tier setup for a quiz show. Now, I don't care if you have to spend another $50 or cut back on John Neighbor's mustache wax for the show. Having only one buzzer for each team is a no-go. Here's what you do. Set up another buzzer for everybody. So these outside players here, 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 and here don't have to hunch over here, so that these people can hit this buzzer here and give them their own buzzers here and here and here and here to make the show a lot more fair. You're hampering those 4 people, you know, doing the setup, and makes the show even look cheaper than it is already. If other game shows that have a 3-on-3 buzzer system for their shows, you know, Sex Wars has it. That show is dirt cheap. They execute it well. Hell, high school quiz shows that we've seen. Every contestant has their own buzzer system, even back in the 80s and the 70s. You know what? This is, should be using red, is just simply not an acceptable thing. Got it? Do better! Once a team scores a touchdown, we get the cheerleaders, a graphic, and we toss it to the field where Gretchen Jansen shows us what sport we'll be playing for a bonus. If it's golf, each member of the team has to chip a ball and get close to the pin. Getting it in the hole is 50 points, getting it in the inner circle is 25 points, getting it in the outer circle is 10 points. Simple enough, although I don't like how rough the hole looks. Football is more straightforward. Each contestant calls out a point total and has to throw it to the marked receiver. If they hit the target, they get the points. Closest to the contestant is 10, one nearest to the end zone is worth 50, and the middle one is worth 25. Got no problems with this one. Basketball is also straightforward. They have one shot to sink a basket from one of 3 lines. A free throw line shot is 10 points, the collegiate 3-point line is 25, and the pro 3-point line is 50. The most bonus points there seem to be earned here because a large number of sports stars, I should say, come from basketball, and it's also the most accessible to anybody. Baseball is where I have the most problems. Here, the softball pitcher throws a ball to the contestants and they have to hit it above 3 markers. The green one is the lowest, it's worth 10, the red one is worth 25, and the big one, i.e. the monster, is worth 50. There are so many variables that could go wrong with this. Once, if the pitcher doesn't pitch it correctly, then the contestants have to hit a bum ball, making it harder to score. Secondly, the markers really aren't even at all. At least make them straight and use tighter markers rather than the $2 banners you got at Party City. After 2 halves, the team with the most points wins the game and a prize. They also get a shot at the Dream League cycle for a shot at the grand prize. Looking at the prizes they gave away for winning this game, it's tough to be better fit for a Nickelodeon game show rather than one on ESPN. I know budget is one thing, but the prizes kind of had to go with the theme of the show. Why couldn't they give them something useful like tickets to sporting events in the area, or rather adult prizes like a VCR or TV or stereo, or something useful? Runner-ups get some ugly mugs and towels, which is just as big of an insult than the main prizes that we got. So, before we get to the bonus game, let's review. Disjointed set, broken gameplay, cheap execution in the quiz section, unfair gameplay in the quiz section, and overall everything going against contestants that are, well, being blown out, so to speak, in an unfair way. Oh, by the way, I also forgot the prizes are crap, too. Let's go to the bonus game and get this over with. The Dream League cycle is as follows. One team must sink a throw 3-point shot, one teammate must pass a football to the furthest receiver, and one teammate must hit a home run in the softball section. Doing all 3 in 30 seconds wins the grand prize of a trip to Universal Studios. Florida. and they retired to the Dream League Hall of Fame. So at least they're not giving them a trip back to California. Couple problems I have with this. The meaning of the word cycle in baseball parlay is for a single, double, triple, and home run. What happened to golf? Couldn't they do 4 and 40 for an actual cycle instead of getting the name wrong and call it a triple play of sorts? Also, this is where the problems of the baseball section gets magnified, because it makes the bonus game almost impossible to win because of how little shots you get in a short time span. Why not just have it like T-ball or something like that, or use a pitching machine to minimize human error that wouldn't be the contestant's fault? Dream League would continue on for a couple years, first season being at Caesars parking lot, before moving to Universal for season 2. Season 3 would see a move to Atlanta and Dwight Stones replacing John Neighbor as host. I don't know if there are any gameplay changes in Season 3 because I can't find an episode of Dream League on the trading circuit that isn't a John Neighbor hosted episode. Either way, the show was canceled after Season 3 to make way for a much better sports trivia game, Sports on Tap. A show I wish I had more episodes that would exist in the wild. Dream League to me is like that ill-prepared minor leaguer that gets hot for a little while, but then when it gets called up to the majors, it fizzles out entirely. Current parlance would be Jared Kelenic for the Seattle Mariners. Good for the Tacoma Rainiers, but horribly underperforming in the field and with the bat. And that's what Dream League did here. It handcuffed John Neighbor. Gretchen Jansen was handcuffed here. The charismatic Dwight Stones wasn't charismatic at all. This whole show was just a disaster, much like the AAF, the Alliance of American Football, and we know how bad that went. Honestly, the show just needs to get a towel, an ugly mug, and hit the showers, as they made the losers did on this show. Anyway, and this was the induction I decided to do for my birthday weekend. Go figure. Happy birthday to me. Yay! That's going to do it for this edition of Game Show Garbage here on the Game Show Gumbo YouTube channel. I thank everybody for watching. If you liked what you saw, thumbs up the video. Leave a comment asking for future Game Show Garbage episodes of what you want to see inducted. Subscribe to the channel for more videos. And if you want to see future videos a day before they go public here on YouTube, become a Patreon backer at patreon.com/GameShowGumbo. I am Cindy Solomon. Until next time, I'm going to the Mariners. Goodbye, everyone. And Garrett, don't stop me like you did last time.